Las Vegas. He starts off this segment. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Jack, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Doggy. All right. I am a Vegas resident now, lifelong St. Louis Blues fan, so kind of want to counter a couple of your points. First of all, about the way that the team was put together, and then also Vegas as a market.
Yeah.
The number one, I think, where you're going and where a lot of people are going is totally revisionist history. I get it if people don't like the way that the NHL kind of changed things about the way the team was protected, but I dare anybody to name a true name star on this team.
Oh, Fleury.
Before the season started.
No, Fleury. Everybody can name you Fleury. He won a Stanley Cup. He had won 2 cups, 3 cups previous.
Right.
Fleury, you can't argue. Fleury, you can't argue.
Murray by the Penguins. He was benched last year.
Well, he was benched last year. He's another great goalie, but remember, he won 2 series before he was benched. So he had beaten the Capitals, and he won the first series and beat Columbus. So everybody knew that they got a borderline Hall of Famer. Borderline Hall of Famer. They got in the expansion draft. Who's in his prime?
Okay.
Let's keep that in mind.
They got a goalie. Okay, let's use another example. William Karlsson, 43 goals. Do you know how many goals he had with Columbus last year? 6. 6 goals.
Good point.
These are players that overachieve and play as a team. And I dare a lot of people in the NHL. You call Kenny Albert, Eddie Olczyk, Barry Melrose, whoever you want. I guarantee you every one of them had the Vegas Knights finishing last in the Pacific Division. Nobody saw this coming. Gallant did a great job. McPhee did a great job. And you've got a team like you took the Jets. You know what, Doggy? You were right. The Jets, skill-wise, are far superior to the Knights. But you've got a team that plays as a team, and they outwork them just like they outwork the Sharks and the Kings. It's a great story because you know what? With all the prima donnas that are out there in the sports world, you've actually got a team that for once is selfless and plays.
Well, we know the team. You're preaching to the choir. We know the team is a very, very good. The bigger point is the market. That market, I think there should be a logical progression for these markets with these new franchises, and they shouldn't hit pay dirt so quickly. That's a bigger point. What you're taking that?
I understand, but I do think this is a once in a lifetime because, Chris, what's going to happen in a few years when Seattle gets a franchise is these NHL GMs are going to approach this from a totally different perspective. They're not necessarily going to protect their $8 or $9 million player. They're going to roll the dice and say, let Seattle eat them. But a lot of these teams gave up young, good talent, like Florida gave up Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith, who were 2 of the best 3 players on the Knights on their first line. One team gave up 2 superstars, and in the
I understand that, but they changed the NHL. Say what you want. The NHL changed the rules of how many players that you can protect from the days of Columbus and Minnesota because they wanted. Now McPhee did a great job. Nobody's arguing that, but they changed the rules for teams not to be so bad right out of the gate. I don't think they expected this, but the rules were changed, and I think they were changed negatively because I think it's going to hurt Vegas in the long run. That's my point.
Well, you could be right. One last thing, and I'll let you go. The one reason I think there is longevity, at least when it comes to hockey, is I think a lot of people don't realize there are now 2.2 million people in Vegas. I came from the broadcast industry, worked in 4 different markets. This is now a top 40 market. It's getting bigger. If you live where I live, you wouldn't know if you're in Vegas or Scottsdale. A lot of people in Vegas, they don't go down to the Strip every day for everyday entertainment. They're hockey fans. I went to the opening night that they had when they gave out season tickets. I got season tickets. I kid you not, Dougie, there were at least 15 jerseys that I saw. Devils, Flyers, Rangers, Kings. Hockey fans, they have adopted this as a second team because they can't see their first team. So I think, hockey fans are loyal. They will keep going. And here's the other thing. When other teams come in, this is a reason for visiting fans to come into Vegas. Let me tell you something. When Calgary comes in or Toronto comes in, there's 3,000 or 4,000 Maple Leafs fans at a Toronto-Vegas game because it's a reason to go to Vegas. So I don't think the Knights are ever going to have a problem filling up that arena, even if there's a few thousand fans from the other team, just because it is Vegas.
All right, that's a fair, good argument. Good call. Mike in upstate New York is with us here. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Michael, good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing, Chris Mad Dog? I want to talk to you about the Triple Crown coming up.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's kind of eerie when you think about it. When America Foul ran it in Preakness, it was bad, but not as bad as it was this time. Here's my thought on it. I like Bob Baffert, and I like the combination of the jockeys, Mike Smith, Bob Baffert. 2 Hall of Famers, 2 major players. The thing is, and I have to agree, yeah, he was having a tough time. Maybe it was the weather coming to the stretch. Dean Lady Lucas, to me, is the professor of thoroughbred horse racing. He's been around for many years, done a lot of good things. But here's my thought. If Bob Baffert and Mike Smith come up with a game plan to save a little bit and have that horse kick, because a lot of people are like, oh, just another quarter mile. Well, yeah, that quarter mile is a big difference at Belmont. And people don't realize that. I'd like to see what the start is going to be, because I know there's a lot of people that skip the Preakness to go to the Belmont.
Well, I mean, listen, Mike, we get the point. This is going to be, you have some confidence in Baffert. You have confidence, of course, in Smith, and as you should. And this horse, I get that. And they should not be, wheeled into a duel early, and they shouldn't go off too quick. When you make your move at the Belmont, you better do it at the right time, because that last, whatever it might be, is very difficult. We've seen a lot of these young jockeys and inexperienced ones get buried. Mike Smith will not. This will be a hard race. Based on what I saw, this will be a very hard race for this Justify. Very hard. 18 in front of the hour. Mad Dog on